What's going on, everybody? I hope you're all having a fantastic day. So this is going to be the first in a new series I'm starting called, I don't really know yet, but that's not the name of the series. It's just I don't really know what to call it. You guys can help me out with the title in the comments below, but for now, the title I'm going to use for now is just MCOC and MCU reviews. So essentially, this is going to be where I'm playing MCOC in the background, but actually talking about and reviewing the latest Marvel content. So basically, Black Widow came out recently, and I'm going to be reviewing that movie here, my thoughts on it, and I'm going to be using Black Widow Deadly Origins gameplay in the background, and then I might throw in some Taskmaster gameplay. So I'm just going to get right into this review because I am a huge MCU fan. I have seen every movie on opening night since the first Thor came out, and the only reason I couldn't see the other like 2 or 3 movies before that was because I was not old enough to. So I'm a huge fan. I've pop figures all over my room. I've made ceramic models of the Infinity Gauntlet and Nano Gauntlet. I'm about as big as a Marvel fan you can get. So I will just give my thoughts on this movie, the latest entry in the MCU, and then after this, I'm probably going to do my review of the Loki show that just finished, and just let me know if you want me to go back and talk about some of the other MCU movies that you would want to see my thoughts on. So let's just get right into this. Black Widow. So Black Widow, I'll go over the good first. The good is the characters, the side characters, the main character, everything about them I really enjoyed. So, of course, we know Natasha. She's great. She's always been great. She wasn't like stand out in this movie, I would say, but she wasn't bad. She was just herself, and I appreciate that about her. Was very faithful to her character, just badass assassin. Gave her some more vulnerability by the flashbacks, and I will admit that beginning flashback was very well done, but mostly the opening credits with the Smells Like Teen Spirit cover, that was amazing. That opening credit scene stuck out in my mind, truly incredible, gave me like goosebumps as I was watching it, with them being brainwashed to like this propaganda in America as Russian spies, and it was just really well done. It was one of my favorite scenes in the entire MCU, if I'm being honest. So another thing I really liked, let's go on to the other characters now. Yelena was absolutely incredible. Super funny, super entertaining to watch. I love when she was mocking Black Widow about her poses. Very great there. And I liked her emotional vulnerability where she didn't really know what was happening in the time that her family was being like trained to do all this stuff. She was just a kid. So I really like her character development in the movie, even though it was a little bit. And that post-credit scene got me so excited because it means we're going to be seeing a lot more of her in the future. And I'm just up for that. She was by far my favorite character in the movie. But my second favorite character, I do not want to throw any shade on, was Red Guardian. Red Guardian was so funny in this movie. Absolute like scene stealer. So funny. I love when he was just gushing about the girls, and he was like, guys, I'm so proud of you. You've killed so many people. He was just very good stuff from David Harbour. He's been like great in Stranger Things, and I'm really glad he got this role in the MCU. I did want him to be Thing in the Fantastic Four, but I mean, this performance is great as well, and I'm glad that he's alive, so there's at least a chance we'll see him in the future. Maybe in the Hawkeye show, maybe not, but his performance in this movie was really great. And then moving on to another performance I actually really liked for some reason was, I can't remember his name right now, which is not showing that I liked him that much, but it was Dragovich. I don't know, it was something like that. I don't know his last name exactly, but he's essentially the overseer of the Red Room, where is Black Widow and Yelena was trained. So he was actually very interesting to me. I know a lot of people thought he was just a basic villain, and that's fair. I mean, a lot of people didn't like him, and I could see why. But I actually really liked him. He was a solid villain. He made me hate him because he was doing all this stuff that was just horrible. He was just abducting children from their homes, like paying off families so that they could keep their lives going but then lose their childs. It was really dark stuff. That's another thing I really liked about the movie. It took a dark tone that most of the MCU did not take, and I really appreciate it because it gave the story more like an emotional maturity to it, which is something the MCU hasn't really delved into, but I'm excited to see them do in the future. So I really liked him in the fact that I didn't like him, which means he did a pretty good portrayal of the villain. I like how he always thought he was one step ahead of everyone, but then it turned out he wasn't. It was very Mission Impossible-esque at the end of the movie, which I did like because Mission Impossible is one of my favorite movie franchises of all time. So I love when they're at the end and they're just completely exploiting his plan. So all the twists and turns where he's like, oh, you can't kill me, I have this pheromone that prevents you from hurting me, and then she just smashes her nose on the table and just goes ham on him. That was an awesome scene. But yeah, the movie had a lot of good pros. Those were some of my favorite parts of it. The fight scenes also, that's the last thing I'll say. The fight scenes were really good in this movie. You could feel the impact of each of the blows being dealt, which is something I've always criticized the MCU for, is that a lot of the fight scenes don't feel powerful, but I'm very glad that these did feel powerful. The only critique I had of them is that sometimes they cut away from the action too much. I like scenes where there's like nice long takes, like in Avengers Endgame when they had the scene of Ronan killing everyone in like, I don't know, was it Hong Kong? And it was just a one take of him going through all these stores. It was just such a well done scene. I wish we had more of that in this movie, but the combat still was really explosive and I really liked it. So next, we're going to move on to some of my more like negative thoughts, some of the things I didn't really like about the movie, and there will still some. I'm not a overly praiser of the MCU. I love it with all my heart, but I will not give it a pass on some things that I didn't like. And some of the things that I did not like was the pacing in the movie. So I know this sounds a little bit weird because of, well, why are you talking about pacing? No one cares about that. But to me, it does matter. So I got in the beginning that they were going for like a little bit of a slow vibe, building everything up. And that was good. I enjoyed it. But then there was this drastic shift in pace. So essentially, after they broke out Alexi from prison, who is Red Guardian, so I'm just going to refer to him as Alexi from now on because it's easier. As soon as they broke him out, it felt like the movie went really quickly. So essentially the first half is her finding, what's her name? I can't remember, but essentially her finding her sister, and then so she finds her, escapes Taskmaster, and then they go rescue Alexi from prison, which was a really cool scene. And then after that, the movie just kind of skyrockets. It feels like a lot happens in a short amount of time, which was just kind of weird to me because the entire first half of the movie felt very constant. It was a little bit of slow pacing, but if they had kept that pace, I would have been pretty okay with it. But then they escape him from prison. They go to their adoptive mother, and then it just kind of went really fast from there. So they got abducted by like the task force of the Red Room. They got taken to the Red Room. They freed all the Red Room people. They freed Taskmaster. They defeated the villain. And it just felt really rushed at the end. I still liked all of that happened, but I just wish you could have had more time with it. Maybe taking a little bit less of the time out in the beginning when they were setting up the character development. But I guess that you needed to establish them as the characters. So you need to establish Yelena. You need to establish Alexi, which I thought they did really well in the opening scene. The only one I would have kept giving development to is Yelena because she's one of the main characters in the movie. But I think you could have taken away some of the parts with Alexi. And then just, yeah, it's the only complaint I have, really. Just, it felt weird pacing at that point. And then my other complaint is that this is a pretty common one. It just didn't feel right for the time that it was released. This movie takes place after Civil War, so it comes out after Endgame. We know Natasha's dead. It's like her last movie in the MCU, essentially. But it feels like it has no weight because we know she's never going to be in an MCU movie again. So that was like something I couldn't really get past in the movie. I was trying to view it through the lens that, okay, this is after Civil War. I'm going to try and enjoy it through that viewpoint, but I still can't really just forget that she is gone in this universe. So that was one thing that just holds the movie down, and it's nothing of the movie's fault. It's just something of like Marvel's fault when they should have released this movie, or really they should have released like a Black Widow movie really early on in Phase 1, like with her and Hawkeye, but they missed that opportunity, and I just think they should have shelved this movie in right after Civil War instead of waiting to release it now. But still a fine entry in the MCU. I think I have it ranked at around I have it 18 out of the 26 MCU properties. So it is in the lower half, but it does take place after the big jump in quality in the MCU. And I see that jump as from like Age of Ultron to WandaVision. So there's a pretty significant change in quality from the bottom of the MCU to mid-tier MCU to top tier. So I'd say this is a solid mid-tier MCU movie. I had a lot of fun with it. Still enjoyed it. It just could have been better, and I just wish it was released a little bit earlier. But that post-credit scene was really good with her. I don't know her name. She was trying to recruit the Dark Avengers, essentially, so getting Yelena as the new Black Widow. She already has... I keep forgetting everyone's name. She has U.S. Agent, essentially, as her new Captain America. Thunderbolt Ross might end up being Red Hulk. So I like all the stuff that was set up in the post-credit scene, but that's the only thing in the movie that felt like new and like something of like mysterious, because everything we don't really need to know that it happened because we know that Black Widow's not here anymore. So that's the only big complaint I have with the movie. Oh, wait. No, it's not. I forgot Taskmaster. I almost forgot my biggest disappointment with the movie. Taskmaster easily no, he was so bad, or should I say she was so bad, because Taskmaster in the comics, he's this badass who just knows what you're going to do. He's like a step ahead of you and everything's so cool. And in this, he's just like, she is like I can't pronounce his name. I'm gonna call him Drago. She's Drago's daughter, and he like fixes her, and then he like puts a chip in her head so she isn't like fully human, which is so much more lame than actual Taskmaster. There also was not nearly enough fight scenes, and she was kind of shoved off as this like side villain when she should have been the center focus. I think that would have been so cool. I did like Drago's role in the fact that he was like this mastermind behind all of it, but I really think that she should have had more screen time. I'm okay with Taskmaster being a girl, don't get me wrong. I just wish they had utilized her more and made her more of this like villain, and I hope that even if they don't do this, they at least keep her in the MCU so that we can like see her change and be like this badass anti-hero or something like that. But yeah, in this movie she just really sucked because I know who Taskmaster is from the comics, and this just was not Taskmaster. But those are my overall thoughts on the movie. So I obviously did still enjoy it. I think I gave it about a 7 out of 10. After my first viewing I said 7.8, but usually that's because of hype, so I lowered it a bit after my second viewing, and it's around a 7 right now. So still a really good time. I would recommend you all check it out if you haven't yet, but if you skip it, you're not going to be missing anything new because this is basically just old stuff. So I do hope you guys enjoyed this review. It was a little bit short. I'm going to start easing into this series because I don't really know if you guys are going to vibe with it, but I am going to do the Loki review because that I have some high praise for. And yeah, so let me know what you thought of this style video, and I will see you in the next one. Hopefully going to be some gameplay of like Ultron or what's his face, Mr. Negative. So yeah, all right, I'll see you in the next one.